Okay, I just came out here, unbolted the number two cylinder because it was it just happened to be at the top stroke, so I unbolted it just by wiggling the end cap on the connecting rod. I was able to separate or pull off the end cap with the bearing intact, and then I was able to gently push the cylinder out, and there it is, the number two piston. You know what, we'll look at the cylinder wells in a minute. I want to push another piston through. I think we'll do number one in the front. So this just involves getting the crank in a favorable spot, removing the two bolts to the end of the connecting rod, and pushing it through. The other one came right off. This one does not want to. Oh, that one came out nice and easy. Be interesting to see what the machine shop says about these. This is the bearing off number 4 here. It's supposed to be that way. Jeez. It has this. It's nice and smooth. There's no pitting or roughness whatsoever. But what is that discoloration? Is that an indication of heat, or is that just normal wear over time? Normal wear over time. I don't know. But they should be able to tell us. Just like that. This is number 1. That's what that's for. Number one piston out, labeled, bagged. This is my, this is going to be my large Tupperware bin that goes off to the machine shop with all the parts in it. So. There we go. Box of Lotus pistons, packaged, ready to go. More disassembly. I gotta see how this comes apart. I'm assuming, not assuming anything actually. This I know comes off because I had it off, and that'll come off. Let's see. This gets split. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 10 bolts. And then these journals and caps. Those are holding it together. This I want to do. I don't want to just take these off. This is aluminum. They're obviously torqued to a certain setting, so there's likely there's a process to go which ones to take off in the order to prevent it from warping when it comes apart. So I'm gonna have to look that up. My trusty manual over there. I have no reason to believe that the crank isn't anything but fine. This should be fine. Alright, so I just had a peek at the manual, and as you might have expected, it gives the procedure for unbolting these, for taking the crank out. And that procedure is that the front main seal comes off first. Got to get a tool to pull this off. When the rear main seal comes off, and then these get pulled in a concentric fashion in a diagonal sequence inwards from the outside. Might as well start looking at that though. It's 10 millimeter. Let's see how loose it is. Yeah, not much of anything on this engine was tight. Connecting rods, the bolts on those were really tight, understandably so. But everything else, not so much. This thing smells dirty. It'd be so nice to get this thing cleaned up. On my microphone. Cool. There's 2 threaded holes in this gear, and they're designed to have 2 bolts thread into them, which then a plate goes over this, and you tighten down, and it should pull it off as a puller. That's what it is, a puller. Lotus will have an official part number for it, but probably going to be something that's pretty easy to put together by a trip to the hardware store. I figure out what size bolts those are. All right, so that's got to come off, and the back side has to come off. So that's got to be on my bench to do this. I can't get access to all the bolts. All right, getting ready to pull this lower bottom pulley, tooth pulley for the timing belt off. This has to come off before this cover can come off, and then the back side as well, before you can loosen the top bolts to get access to removing or to get to a point where you can remove the crankshaft. So that's what I'm going to do now. I just went to the hardware store, picked up 2 metric 6. Anybody else doing this? There's 2 holes in the front of this toothed pulley, and they're metric M6 bolts. There's no pitch. I think when you get to M6, that small of a bolt, there's only 1 pitch. So it's just M6 bolts, relatively long. They're on my puller, and we're going to see if we can get that bad boy off. Wow, that's surprising. It's coming off with little to no resistance whatsoever. Was not expecting that. I was expecting it to give me a fight. Not the case. Just like that, it's off. This is going to get replaced. It's my understanding that these could develop hairline cracks over time. So it's the type of thing that I'll probably have another one. I'll buy another one and put it on, brand new one, so I don't have to worry about that issue. Wow, it was way, way easier than I thought it was going to be. Much easier. Alright, so that's that. So, again, for my parts, I just, with a dry or non-dry erase marker, permanent marker, I just label things where they came from and go from there. Well, that means I can now take these 10mm bolts off, and this unit, which is caked in oil, can come off. It'll get clean while this block is away getting rebuilt. So much of my time is spent looking for tools. I'm really bad at that. This one has no washer on it. Interesting. That one does, that one does, that does. See if they're all the same size, otherwise I gotta mark them. So far. persuasion. There we go. So there's the race seal. That's definitely gonna have to get. No. All right. The back of this crank, the front of this crank, is off. Manual says to take the crank out, this bottom housing has to come off first. It's 10 bolts, and they should be done concentrically in. So this one, this one, this one, this one, then this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Just break them free. Wow. There, we got some movement that time. Got to get this sump off before this can separate. Yay. Nasty. This is what I'm dealing with. That's like sludge. It's not even, doesn't even look like oil at this point. So I had a nylon nut go flying called the Olive. I don't think it's still in here. I can check, but I can't tell. Oh, so there it is. It's called an olive. It goes around the base of the sump tube, and then the nut, the large brass nut or whatever it is, that tightens down on it, compresses it and keeps it in the block, as well as providing a seal. And what I did is I pried gently with up on it right here. There's no damage to the pipe whatsoever. It's good shape. So that worked out well. All right, in theory, This should come apart. Should come apart. Yep, I see the little gaps starting. All right. Now we split the case. There we go. Where are you? That's right. That's why. Bearings intact. There's the crank. All right. Woohoo! Down to the block. All right. So what I want to do is clean this well enough to just ascertain if there's any chance that one of these cylinders, I can see if there was a water leak around one of the cylinder sleeves. And I prefer to just do that by wiping it. You know, even if this thing wasn't leaking water, and because it'd be compression, if I had said, oh great, I'm going to start it, I'm not going to rebuild it, this sludge would have been a problem eventually. It's so thick, and I'd have to imagine it would clog passageways. So it's a good thing that this is not a good thing. It's probably the smart thing to take this totally apart and rebuild it from the ground up professionally. Curious to see how well this degreaser works. Try it on one cylinder. I'm kind of excited. I mean, there's nothing, aside from money, there's nothing preventing me from bringing this to the machine shop this week. There is the issue of money. Don't really have any at the moment. Yeah, the degreaser cuts the sludge very quickly. So this gunk says it's okay for some aluminum, but the idea is not to leave it on there too long. I'm not going to let it just pool and sit. I'm sure it's fine if I did, but I'll use carburetor cleaner to basically hose it down to get it to the point where it's clean enough where I can leave it. Again, I'm not cleaning this up to make it shiny new. It's just going to the machine shop. I'm just trying to look to see if I can discern potentially where it had been leaking around the cylinder sleeves. Machine shop will actually do a pressure test on it to determine that ultimately. But for my own peace of mind, I'd sleep really well at night if I could figure out where it was leaking. So there's the block. Cylinders are nice and smooth, no scratches. The only thing I see that makes me question whether it was leaking or not is this black, this colored mark, as well as this one. Is it possible both cylinders are leaking? Don't know. But the other two cylinders don't show that at all. This was just a quick spray of engine degreaser. Let it sit for about 60 seconds, wiped it off, and then used carburetor cleaner to get the rest of it off. Dry it up so it doesn't hurt the block. But yeah, those the 1 and 4 cylinders are nice and clean around the base of the sleeve. The 2 and 3 cylinders both exhibit some degree of blackening. This one especially makes me really wonder if that's where the leaking is coming from. Anyway, won't be my job. That's what the machine shop is for. It's above and beyond my skills. I'm going to continue to strip any bolts that are on this off, and then I'll put it in a Tupperware bin, like that one over there, along with the crank. Next step will be the machine shop. Stay tuned. Okay, one more note. These bearings all look good, except for this one. There's this discoloration, and actually, that's a little, now it's smooth. This one is discolored, you can see it, where these are nice and clear. So I don't know what would cause that, if that's normal for wear, due to wear, or if that's the indication of a problem. I do know the crank itself, the lobes, the crank itself, it looked fine. So the wear was to these. Interesting, I'll have to see what the machine shop says. Okay, the block is out on my workbench. There's the lower half of it. Crank is over there with the oil pan. And again, the problem I had was fluid or antifreeze in the oil, and couldn't discern where it was coming from. And this, I'm not certain, it's going to the machine shop, but To me, that cylinder and that cylinder, maybe that discoloration and all that crud built up in there, maybe that's from leakage. I don't know. The other two cylinders don't have any indication of that. The middle two cylinders seem to be showing. The middle two cylinders have this garbage buildup. I don't know. Maybe that's where it was leaking from. Machine shop will have to tell me. On to costs. There are no new costs. I haven't ordered anything for the car yet. The block, the pistons, and the crank have all been brought to a machine shop in the town next to me, and I've asked them to look at all the pieces to confirm that they're good. Hopefully the cylinder liners come back good and can be reused as is without having to be reconditioned or replaced. If that's the case, then obviously we're just talking new rings and we should be good to go there. And again, I expect the crank to be okay. Once I get feedback from the machine shop on the condition, I can then make a decision on what parts to order, and that will obviously drive up the price. Not looking forward to that, but it's part of the process, so oh well. All right, thanks for following along.